Hi, I'm Dave Roberts and this is Angling Escapades. Hi there, welcome to Angling Escapades. Back on the bank again today, and first I have to start off by saying thank you for the reaction from everyone to the last video, the one where we caught some barbel on the meat feeder. Incredible turn of events really. I've had a lot of success on that method, and we recorded that video last week, went out and shot it, and then on the Sunday I drew a peg at the top end of this stretch on Belmont in the Riverfest qualifier, peg 2, and it was a peg I did fancy a little bit because it had some barbel form, and well, I won the match and qualified for the Riverfest final using exact same tactics as we did in the video. So I had lots of interaction from people, and I really encourage that. The comments at the bottom of these videos, you know, we'll always try and interact with everyone, but I've had a great response. We've upped our subscriptions, nearly 1,000 views in the first 4 days, so that tells us we're doing the right thing with these videos, and I'm enjoying making them, and we're just trying to make it interesting for you. So thanks for that support. What I've done today, a little bit of break from the barbel today. I've come down this river now. We've had a flood, it's fining down, and now this river's starting, you know, the colour's starting to drop out a bit, and now it's really looking very good for your roach, your dace, perch, chub, things like that. It's still quite high actually, but it's a lovely height to fish at this. So all I've done today, I'm going to come down, I've brought down some worms with me. Plenty of worms, okay, and I've got some casters, and these were left over from the weekend, and they're still in great. I keep my casters in these clip fresh containers, and I mean, I picked these up on Friday from my local shop, Woody's in Hereford, and you know, I do bang the drum for the local shops. I really do. I think, you know, I know these casters are turned in his shop from fresh maggots. They're not stuck in bags for ages. They don't go grey when I open them, and I'm a big advocate of that. I know there's some really good online companies out there, but I trust my supplier. He gives me fresh bait every time, and then if I don't use them on the weekend like I didn't this weekend, I can keep them. And I said, these clip fresh containers, they're airtight, so you keep them in those. I'll put them in the fridge like that 2 days, then I'll open them up again, give them some air, give them sort of 20 minutes of air or so, and that keeps the caster alive. People forget it is a living creature, a caster, so it just gets that air, gets it turning, turns them on a little bit more. But I can keep them for a week like that, sometimes a little bit longer, and you know, you can really recycle your bait. So perfect example today, I'm out just using up a bit of bait really. I could have frozen it, put it in the freezer, but no need. I'm going to try and catch. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to try and catch some perch and some roach and other species, but at the moment, this time of year, and this is something that catches a few people out when they come to certainly the Belmont stretch in Hereford. Everybody's, you know, it's renowned for its roach and dace fishing and perch, and people come here and they, with their ground bait and their, you know, maggots and casters, and they start feeding and they'll catch a few fish, and then all of a sudden they're faced with every bleak in the river in front of them, because there's not, the match anglers aren't, you know, in matches where every peg and those fish are spread out, but if you're the only one putting bait in, there's a good chance you're going to end up with a lot of bleak in front of you, and it spoils the fishing unless you like bleak fishing, which, you know, that's not for everyone, and it's certainly not for me on a pleasure day. So I like to try and find ways through them, and I find that worms and casters is one way which I can get down, and because there might be a lot of bleak in front of me, but there's a lot of proper fish underneath as well. So that's what we're going to do today. Complete simplicity. All I've got is a whip with a 4-gram float, with a bulk and a couple of droppers. Okay, and I'm going to use a bait dropper. I'm going to chop some of these worms up with my scissors, and I'm going to bait dropper some of these down, and then loose feed a bit of caster over the top, and try and you know, try and target some of these roach and perch. So very simple fishing, just a quick go, a couple of hours, and you know, a chance to use up some bait. So let's see how we get on. So what I like to do with my worms I like to give them a little wash. So just usually you'll find if they've been in a container or a bag for a while, there's a good lump of worms there. So what I'll do is I'll put a good dollop in my net, and I'll just go them down in the water and just give them a little wash, just to wash that soil off. I don't think the soil or the peat does any harm, but I just like to keep them clean, and then it doesn't clog up your scissors when you're chopping them, and gives you a really nice clean worm. So there you go, nicely clean, lovely dollop of worms ready for chopping. Okay. So all I do is I carry around with me a little pole pot like that, and what that does is if I put some worms in here, what it does is it creates a cramped space for them. So when I put the scissors into that pot, they're going to chop up quite quickly. They're not sort of all spreading around the tub. So just a couple of chops. I don't chop them too finely. This is the why, the fish are big here. Sometimes I'll mince them up, and I've got some scissors there, you know, the multi-blade scissors to chop them up nice and fine, but generally, you know, a couple of chops and you've got chunks of worms of varying size. It's a bit grubby, but it's very effective. And then all it's a case of then, I've already plumbed up, so what I do is I put my bait dropper on, and you can see again, big bait dropper. I can't remember a time I got a small bait dropper out on the Wye. Good dollop of worms. There we go, and I'm going to put a few casters on there. Not too many, because I'm going to loose feed casters as well. Just make sure that's all in place. Okay, I'm just going to lower this in, and I'm not going far out at all here today, just into the edge here, because I think this is where these roach and perch will be lying. And there we go, dropper comes back empty. So I've now got some chopped worms on the bottom, and then what I like to do is loose feed casters over the top. So, and the reason I do that, especially with perch, because perch fishing can be phenomenal here, but I find perch are very visual feeders. Obviously they're predators, and I think they're like a you know, the caster sort of falling through the water, it keeps them looking up rather than having to look down all the time. So just a steady trickle of bait, you know, going over the top of casters going through, I find it just sort of gets them going, gets their juices flowing, and gets them looking, and gets those predatory instincts out. And I fish, you know, I say a lot of people fish flat floats and things like that, but I like to fish a running rig, heavy enough just to slow it up occasionally, but I like to keep that hook bait bobbing and floating around, and I think I usually find that gets you more bites, because the perch, I say, have got those predatory instincts, and they see something flutter and they'll grab it. So that's my theory behind it, and you know, it's been successful for me over the years. So that's how I start off, really. I don't need to do anything else. Now the reality is loose feeding casters will probably bring bleak into the peg, but they won't eat them all, and I've got worms on the bottom as well. So we'll get started and see how we get on. So bait for this for me is just half a dendrobina worm. Just chop it in half, and then I'll just hook it through the bit that I've just chopped, so all the flavour that's coming out of that worm is around my hook, so it'll encourage that fish to take it at the hook, not just nip at the ends. And all I tend to do with this is I like to lay the rig upstream, let it settle, and then I'll let it bob. Just slow it up so that hook bait is, as you're holding it back, that hook bait is rising up, and then just let it trundle through. Really, it doesn't need to be dead still. Just search for the peg. There's a bite. Ooh, missed that one. So that was a bite straight away, so that's a good sign. So same again, a few casters. So almost let it run through until the float sinks under, and then touch them, and then I'll hold it back, and that just sort of almost entices a bite. Just let it go through. So it's very much a, you know, a moving target. Okay, so nothing that time. So same again, just. You almost fish too far out. You're just trying to find that little crease just as the bank slopes off. you want to get it in place, ready. That's it, that's the spot there, I reckon. Something small to grab that. See, even the bleak will grab a worm that size. Under the worm, so we'll just put a slightly bigger piece on this time, see if we can. Combat that. So it's probably not so much of a problem in a match, but when you're one of the only ones fishing down here, literally every bleak finds your bait, and it can be very frustrating when you know there's really good fish underneath. There we go, just trundling that down through. That's lovely, that's just coming into the edge there then. I don't want to go too far out of the peg at this stage, I just want to keep it, you know, within range of where I've been feeding. There's a bite. Oh, there's our first fish. What have we got? Greedy little chublet, see? So that took the best part of a whole dendrobina. And the river's full of these at the moment. So, start. So same again. Put a big worm on. Just lay the rig upstream. And that's just, you're laying it upstream so as your bait is actually going to fall and be sinking. And it's now the bait is on the bottom as it passes over where I've bait dropped those worms. So it's right in the hot zone. Touch then. There's obviously plenty of small fish there. It's not just bleak either, these little chublets and stuff, they'll pull at it. There's a bite. What I'll do is just give it a second, because sometimes they'll just yank it under and it's not a proper bite. So all's fine with this fish, and you just let it go under, and then give it a second before striking. Nothing on that run. Oh, the worm's gone. Shorten that down and fish. I feel like I'm fishing a bit close to myself, so. And of course you can do this with lobworms, you don't need to use dendrobinas, you don't need to buy dendrobinas, you can just do it with worms you collect out of the garden. It's all natural baits. There we go, so you're going to fish really a little bit closer to us now, right against the shelf. There's so many fish hang against the inside shelf, because it's where they feel safe. A lot of the big roach and that will sit against the bank. Right. There we go, so that's our first roach. Taking a fair old piece of worm there. Beautiful. Brand new. I think we might have just hooked a pike. Oh, let's let go. Battered, bruised, but still surviving. Well, I'll tell you what, if ever there was a fish to end on, I reckon it's that one. What a gorgeous roach that is. Stunner. So there you go. And it's easy to remember, we get carried away with setting up rigs and fishing all kinds of different methods and what have you, but and we can overcomplicate it all you want, but the reality is I fished a 4 metre whip with a 4 gram float and a few worms and some casters. It's been a great day, lots of fun. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe so you get kept up to date with all the videos we do, and we'll see you next time.